if it is your first time in the gym or it's the first time in a while, the key things we really want to avoid is a prolonged muscle soreness or delayed onset muscle soreness after the gym session. And the reason we want to avoid this is that it's going to interfere with our training in our other sport-specific disciplines. So if you've got really sore legs or really sore upper body, you're not going to be able to paddle well, you're not going to be able to ride or run very well, not going to be able to swim well because of that soreness. And so that's counterproductive to our overall training load. If we're not actually able to do our sport-specific training because we're sore from our gym work, then again, that's counterproductive. So what can we do to avoid that and make sure that we're getting the most out of our gym training? Well, the first couple of sessions, I think people go into them thinking that they need to be hurting themselves in the gym. They need to be pushing really hard to chase those sore muscles, that delayed onset muscle soreness, or they need to go in there and they need to work really hard and to sweat and to burn. And I mentioned it in the episode where we interviewed Dougal Allen about strength training, about if you're in the gym as an endurance athlete, you want to be chasing the sort of opposite feeling to what you get out on the bike or running or kayaking or whatever your sport is. So if you're out running and you're huffing and puffing and sweating, then we want to avoid that sort of feeling in the gym, because those little signs from our body tell us that we're got quite a high metabolic conditioning load. We've got a large aerobic sort of training effect happening. If we're getting a large aerobic training effect in the gym, then it's just general non-specific aerobic conditioning, which is not as good as specific aerobic conditioning, say, out in the real world doing our sport. So we want to avoid that. In the gym, what we're looking for is a strength effect. We're looking at developing strength, whether that be sort of accessory strength in our stabilizing muscles to contribute towards our sport performance indirectly, or whether that's gross strength development in those key prime mover muscles that are going to directly help our sport performance. Whatever one of those two strength gains that we're looking for, none of them require a lot of huffing and puffing and sweating. Sure, you're going to get a little bit out of breath. Sure, you're going to start to get warm, but you shouldn't be in a sweating, puffing mess on the floor when you're in the gym. So keep in mind that, first off, we're not chasing those same feelings that we're getting when we're out training in our sport. So going into the gym with that in mind, that it is going to feel different and it should feel kind of easy, or at least that's how a lot of endurance athletes describe it. It feels easy compared to what they usually do out in the boat or on the bike or running. So keep that in mind when you first step into the gym. The second thing is I want you to do a lot less than you think you can. A lot of people, when I had someone in the gym the other day, first time back, and we were getting through their program, and we were only doing 2 sets of everything rather than the usual 3 or 4 sets that we usually do with them in the gym. And they said, "Oh, is that all we're doing today?" So as that was kind of like a negative thing. Is that all we're doing? And I said, yes, that is all we're doing, because that's all that we need to do to get the adaptation that we're after. So if we were to do the usual sets, let's say 3 to 4 sets, it gives them an adaptation to get what they're after. Anything on top of that's not actually adding, because we've already flicked the light switch, so to speak, to turn the lights on to get those strength gains. Anything after that is just general damage to the muscles, which is going to leave you sore afterwards. So once you've done the required amount, the minimal effective dose, so to speak, and that's potentially something that we could talk about in future episodes. Once you've done that, there's no point doing any more, because it's not actually adding to the outcome that we're after. It's just having a counterproductive outcome to it. So doing less than you think that you should be doing is probably a good level to start at. And so that when you walk out the door after your gym session, you're feeling fresh, you're feeling better than when you walked in, and you're ready to come back in 1 or 2 days' time for another one. You're not going to be crippled for like 6 days because you've done such a massive session. And I liken this getting back into any training if you've had a little bit of time off, or if you are getting into training for a specific event for the first time. If you can imagine, you wouldn't go out for your first ever run and go and run a half marathon. And that's the same as going into the gym and jumping straight into a really big training session in the gym. Okay, you're going to do one of them. It's going to leave you sore, potentially overworked, potentially injured. When you're building up your running, you start small and you focus on regular, consistent training sessions to develop that capacity, and then you build up, to that 21K run or whatever it is you're building up to. You don't jump straight into it. And the same with the gym. It's about progressing your strength work over time and over sessions. So the sessions become more demanding as you go. A lot of people have, strength 60 minutes on their program, let's say, or they've always done a 60-minute strength session, or that's just what they do. So they think they've got to go to the gym first time back or first time ever and do 60 minutes. I'm just going to keep going until the 60 minutes is up. Whereas in fact, you get away with a lot less than that. And the other thing is just people having a flick through Instagram and seeing exercises that look really cool, and no doubt that they do look awesome. But then they go into the gym and, all right, I've got to do this exercise, I've got to do this exercise, I've got to do this one and this one and that one and this one, rather than actually focusing on what their key outcome is and how they're going to get there. So all of this encompasses, I guess, is getting some sort of a plan together to work towards what you are doing. A lot of people drift into the gym not sort of knowing that it's important for their endurance performance, but not really knowing exactly what they're going to be doing once they're in there. So highly recommend getting a plan, one that's tailored to you, but just a general plan if you cannot get something that is tailored to you specifically. So just remember, what you're doing in the gym is more than just a one-off session. We're not just going to go to the gym once and do everything that we can ever think of, and then we're going to walk out of it good. No, we need to build up over time. We need to add variety into that program. We need to add progressive loading into that, both in terms of movement complexity and then also actual physical resistive load that we are lifting. So that there is a bit of an outline for those people that are venturing into the gym this winter, or people that are venturing into the gym for the first time. Don't go and smash yourself. First off, give yourself some time to adapt, build up into it so that you can get the most out of it and it can have the most positive effect on your real world performance.